Welcome to New Sky TV. Exploded. The truth revealed, Zhai Yiying dominates the short drama scene, her ugliest male co-star sparks controversy. Can she really turn things around with her acting skills? The short drama scene has been incredibly lively lately, like someone has stepped on the gas pedal. Zhai Yiying's name is so frequently mentioned that it's impossible to avoid it. From first time trying something new and peaceful years just starting to build up her reputation, to he coaxed his little darling reaching 42.84 million views on its premiere, it gave viewers almost no time to adjust. A dark horse? No, this is clearly accelerated growth, the kind of explosive popularity that would push you in the face even if you didn't watch it. But the more popular she becomes, the fiercer the controversy. The female lead is too strong, the male lead is too ugly, their looks don't match, it's distracting, Zhai Yiying carries the whole thing alone. The comment section is like a live-action battlefield, with criticism and romantic sentiment running parallel, neither giving an inch. Interestingly, those who criticize the most are often also the most enthusiastic viewers. Ultimately, the cruelty of short dramas lies in this: they don't give you time to warm up. If you can't grab the audience's attention in the first 30 seconds, they'll scroll away. If you can't establish a character in the first 3 episodes, the reputation will collapse. It's precisely because of this that Zhai Yiying's acting strengths are amplified. Her portrayal of Sang Yuxia doesn't rely on exaggerated dialogue or filters to create emotion. Instead, she acts in an extremely economical way: a tightening gaze, a pause in breathing, a slight hesitation at the corner of her mouth, all are subtle details. She perfectly captures the state of being forced down by life, yet stubbornly refusing to admit defeat. In the early stages, she's passively enduring, swallowing back her words. In the middle, she begins to awaken, her emotions sharp without exploding. In the later stages, she retaliates, her voice low but her attitude steady. The character's arc is clear, and the audience's emotions follow step by step, leaving almost no room for detachment. Many say that watching her cry isn't because they were moved by the plot, but because they were touched by that stubbornly refusing to give up spirit. Looking at the controversy surrounding the male lead, it's actually more like an old problem in the short drama genre: the anxiety of the mismatch between appearance and acting skills. Short drama audiences are too heavily trained to enjoy quick, satisfying moments. They were used to being bombarded with good-looking actors, so they instinctively reject any face that doesn't fit their expectations. Interestingly, however, the criticism gradually subsided as the plot progressed. This wasn't because the face suddenly became more pleasing to the eye, but because the characters' relationships became more established. When the male lead's actions were logically consistent and his emotional responses were genuine, viewers subconsciously lowered their harsh standards regarding appearance. This isn't an attempt to whitewash ugliness, but rather an illustration that in the high-density narrative of short dramas, acting skills can truly save the day. More importantly, he coaxes his little darling didn't follow the tired, artificially sweet formula. It's sweet, but with a balance of give and take. The coaxing isn't domineering or oppressive, but rather a closeness built on respect and understanding. The female lead isn't a pitiful figure waiting to be rescued, but a character with principles and the ability to fight back, a character who is growing. Zhai Yiying portrayed this state of being loved but not dependent very clearly. This is also the key to her rapid rise to fame. She didn't become famous based on a single label, but rather built trust through her roles. The short drama market is never short of popular faces, but it lacks actors who can deliver emotional value within a very short time frame. Zhai Yiying's advantage lies not in how sweet she is, but in her ability to control her emotions. She knows when to make the audience feel soft-hearted and when to let the character stand firm. This kind of judgment is far more valuable than a perfectly modeled face. So perhaps the question should be reversed. It's not can the ugliest male co-star turn things around with acting skills, but rather, when the female lead has already carried the drama to this level with her talent, are you still willing to just focus on her face? The truth in the short drama circle is never gentle. What remains is never the safest combination, but the one with the most memorable moments. And in this round, Zhai Yiying has clearly stood at the center of the table. Speaking of the male lead, Duan Miang, the controversy was like a pot lid being lifted, with netizens directly commenting the ugliest yandere male lead in short dramas, generating a lot of buzz. But after the excitement, what truly deserves close scrutiny is not ugliness, but rather whether he can stand firm. He doesn't have the kind of face that makes people scream the moment he appears on screen, but rather the kind that reveals layers of emotion the more you look at him. His features aren't sharp, which gives the character more room for nuance. The dangerous aura of his yandir isn't built on a pile of facial features, but slowly seeps out from subtle pauses and restraint. If you watch his performance closely, you'll find that he rarely overacts. Before an emotional outburst, there's always a pause, as if he's suppressing the loss of control. This state of holding back from going crazy is more powerful than outright madness. It's precisely because of this that his scenes with Zhai Yiying aren't a traditional mutual appreciation of good looks, but rather a battle of charisma, one calmly defending, the other gradually closing in, creating a constant sense of tension on screen. The audience's initial discomfort largely stems from their ingrained aesthetic preferences. Zhai Yiying's previous collaborations with Liu Yuhang and Wang Haosan were standard high, good-looking, safe bets. Once the sweet romance formula was laid out, the emotions were automatically projected. Duan Miang's appearance is like dropping a pill into sugar water. The bitterness comes first, making the sweetness all the more real. The contrast is amplified, but this also makes the drama more three-dimensional. Is appearance important? Of course, it is. It determines whether you're willing to click. But is acting useful? Is even more important, it determines whether you can finish watching. The cruelty of short dramas lies in the fact that viewers have very little patience but are extremely sensitive to genuine emotions. Once the relationships between characters are established, facial features automatically take a back seat. Many people complain verbally, but their actions speak louder than words. Watching every episode without missing a single one, that in itself is the answer. Moreover, Duan Miang's character wasn't designed to be a dream lover. His illness isn't meant to make people infatuated, but rather to create unease and tension. When he stands before Zhai Yiying, the unequal energy amplifies the female lead's clarity and growth. In other words, his existence is to enhance the story, not to create screenshots. So don't rush to conclusions. Short dramas are never a beauty pageant, but a contest of emotional efficiency. As the plot progresses, you'll find that what truly leaves a lasting impression isn't the most perfect face, but rather a certain look, a pause in a sentence, or a moment unspoken yet unsaid that sends a shiver down your spine. Looking back at those controversies at that moment, perhaps all that remains is a simple, "So that's how it is." It's precisely within this high-speed narrative machine that the audience is repeatedly pulled in, pulled out, and pulled back. You think the next second will bring sweetness, but the knife has already fallen, you've just been heartbroken, and the camera cuts to a warm, comforting sweetness. Emotions are precisely calculated, yet they don't feel cheap. This is the most terrifying aspect of a mature short drama industry. It understands the audience's psychological rhythm perfectly. The male lead's madness isn't unrealistic, it's more of a defense mechanism born from environmental pressure. The female lead's being coaxed isn't mindless surrender, but rather a gradual affirmation of her self-worth through the power struggle. These two emotional threads intertwine, making love no longer just an accessory, but the engine driving the character's growth. Thus, you'll find that the business storyline isn't just background. The power structure of the campus, class oppression, and the costs of choices are all subtly emerging. The shift in the discussion forums is itself a testament to the success of the story. Initial attacks gradually transformed into analysis, criticisms were dissected into character motivations, and complaints became frame-by-frame analysis. Viewers no longer focused on who looks better, but began debating who truly won the emotional battle. When the discussion moved from faces to performances, from screenshots to emotions, the show had already achieved its first major breakthrough. The boundaries of short dramas were pushed forward in this kind of work. It's no longer just a fast-paced, entertaining product, but an attempt to construct more complex emotional structures within a limited time frame. The hype may fade, the topics may dissipate, but what remains is a more mature viewing experience. Perhaps years later, looking back, people will realize that this round of controversy wasn't noisy, but rather a necessary jolt as short dramas move towards the next stage. Thank you for watching the video. See you in the next video. Thank you.